Hello, it is Jack Gill and welcome to Anfield Agenda. Liverpool have lost the Merseyside derby at Anfield by 2-0. Now, I've got Mike alongside me, who I'll talk to in a moment, but for now, I'm just going to wrap it up from a Liverpool perspective. Today wasn't quite good enough. We were sat in the changing rooms for the whole of the first half. Didn't really come out until the second half, and we tried to play football. We looked a bit more promising. We had a couple of chances, but I thought Everton defended well, and Ancelotti got his game plan spot on. There's questions about the penalty. Listen, I've had a few non-Liverpool fans try and explain to me the decision. I'm sure Mike will say in a minute what he thinks about the penalty, but for me, I could watch that back all evening, and I don't get it. We lost the game if now we're resorting to a defender with his back to the man, no intent whatsoever, and the striker basically falling into him, and that being a penalty. But I am going to bring Mike in. Mike, from a Liverpool perspective, it's not been a good few weeks for us.
No.
And Everton took advantage of that today.
Yeah, I think obviously Liverpool come into it off the back of bad home form. I think tonight is the first time since 1923 Liverpool have lost 4 home games in a row. And if you look at some of the teams that Liverpool haven't got results against, including that, for example, West Brom as well, it's not been great at Anfield, which is, as we all know, had been a fortress for 56 games beforehand. So yeah, it was interesting from an Everton perspective to see Liverpool obviously huff and puff, and they did. It's not like Liverpool didn't have chances. Jordan Pickford was phenomenal for Everton tonight. Everton defended really well. Michael Keane, Mason Holgate, Ben Godfrey, phenomenal. But it was weird to see Liverpool really probably lack a cutting edge. And bearing in mind, we already know that they have defensive issues. I think I'm not just saying this as an Everton fan, because I think there's probably some Liverpool fans that feel the same, but it's probably a little bit worrying right now to be a Liverpool fan, quite knowing where Liverpool are, if you get what I mean. I think as well from a Liverpool perspective, there really wasn't the dynamism in midfield, because nobody was able to get the ball down and sort of combat the Everton midfield almost. Gomez looked a little bit slow, but I was expecting Thiago to be much more influential than he was, and he wasn't. I was just expecting more from Liverpool. And I was expecting it to be a tougher game with lots more shots. Yes, you had loads of possession, but I just think, for me, I think Everton will come out of that really, really, really happy with a really strong result. So any of the Liverpool fans in here, just let us know in your comments what your thoughts were. Obviously, Jack's struggling, I think, with his internet there, so I'll just sort of shepherd it a little bit. So from a Liverpool perspective, let me know how you're feeling, guys, because I'm not here to take the piss. I'm not going to sit down and dig in here. There's no point. Obviously, Everton won. In my opinion, it was a good result for Everton. It was a solid performance. As much possession as Liverpool had, they were poor with it. And, look, there's lots of Liverpool fans that may disagree with this, but for me, it was a penalty. The second goal, for me, it was a penalty. The ball gets played in. I do not understand what Trent is doing. From a Liverpool perspective, he's lying on the floor with his leg mid-height. And I don't get what he's doing. So irrespective of whether you disagree or agree, I think questioning his decision-making there from the penalty perspective was bad enough. However, look, it doesn't matter, because it's not like I couldn't necessarily see Liverpool scoring tonight. And that's not a dig. It's just I couldn't.
Yeah, I completely agree with you, mate. And that's the one reason where I think there's lots of things from today. I think mostly Everton's tactics were spot on. You came to Anfield. Ancelotti, I think, confused us with the way he set up. Like, you started with a 4-4-2. I don't think we expected that with Rodriguez alongside Richarlison up front. You made the most of our poor defending very early on, exploited us, defended really well. I thought Michael Keane was outstanding for you today, just like he was for the majority of the City game, to be honest with you. Mason Holgate as well.
Yeah.
But though Everton, I can applaud Everton for their performance all day. Once again, it just wasn't good enough from a Liverpool perspective, and you touched on it. Then it's worrying times because I said a few things before the game. I got
you would
I got a bit too big for my boots. I thought this was going to be the day where Liverpool turned it around, where we came into this game confident, wanting revenge after what happened at Goodison Park, and turned it around. But it was once again dull, drab, lackluster, and the players just seem tired right now. And it seems as though just as many fans have written them off now this season, they've written themselves off.
But you can almost, from a Liverpool perspective, you can almost see that, Salah, for example, he didn't look half the player. I mean, this is a guy who's top goal scorer in the Premier League, so I'm certainly not going to sit here and slag him off, obviously, but he didn't look half the player he did last season, for example, in terms of the derby, and then a couple of years ago when he's turning on the edge of the box and scoring screamers at Goodison, he didn't look like that man. Firmino, I know a lot of Liverpool fans like him, and I know there's always been a lot of he's a play-making striker, etc. But he didn't really look in the game tonight, and the one chance he got, he put it wide. Although, look, I think Jordan Pickford had a very, very good game tonight, and you could have scored on some of those occasions. There was a particular effort very early on that Pickford makes a world-class save. He gets his little T-Rex arms to it, and he makes a good save. But there's almost like it's really weird actually, because seeing Jordan Henderson playing centre back, and obviously I understand why Jordan Henderson has to play centre back, and again won't hold any punches or whatever, but you miss him in midfield. You miss his dynamism. You miss his ability to just get on the ball and play the ball. And Thiago should be able to do that. We all thought Thiago was world class. Liverpool fans thought he was world class. Sky bigged him up as world class. I thought he was a top player, and I'm not saying that.
Well, the first half, I could argue to you, Mike, that and I'm sure as a non-Liverpool fan, you'd say the same. Thiago was at fault for that first goal. It was a sloppy.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, he was.
In his own half, and time again, I'll come out and I'll defend Thiago. He's adjusting, but you could argue that world-class players would have adjusted a lot sooner. And I think at the minute he's coming across to me like a bit of a futsal player, where he's trying all these flashy things in his own half, but it's not paying off. And if he doesn't adapt his game and quickly, this is the Premier League, mate. Welcome to the Premier League.
It'll pass him by. It'll pass him by. As much as we all know he's good on the ball, and he can pick a pass, and every so often you see that moment of brilliance. I think there was a ball where he gets it just outside the box and he plays it. He cuts straight through the middle of Luka Dean, and the ball gets whipped across. They're the moments where you think, yeah, clearly a good player, clearly got the vision. And I just think from a Liverpool perspective, you're not seeing enough of it. And now, look, Everton have got the same issue at home. We can all sit there and say that Liverpool are really bad at home at the minute and whatever. Everton haven't won at home in the last 5, including losses to Fulham, West Ham, Leeds. We haven't been good enough either. So that might just be a story of the season, but it's just interesting because Liverpool, we haven't seen where the front three haven't done stuff. And we're now seeing where the front three aren't. Before, there would be games where maybe you would concede a goal or maybe 2 goals, but you could almost guarantee that you'd score 4 because Mane and Salah would just destroy your team. And you're not seeing that. And that's the worrying bit for me. And I can see, to be fair, I can see a few people in the comments, agreeing with that in terms of Salah specifically. He just looks a little bit slower, although he has scored 16 Premier League goals. So let's not throw him under a bus, like.
Mike, massive respect to you for doing this. You've come on a Liverpool-based stream. You've won the first derby at Anfield in 22 years. You know, I've not witnessed Everton win at Anfield in my life till today, which I think puts into perspective, you know, how big of a win that is for Everton. We saw at full time, and this isn't intended as a dig, but it was celebrated highly as the Everton players, by the Everton players. You know, it was celebrated more than a normal win. This is a massive, massive thing for your club, and you know, you've come into this, you're respectful, you recognise that this isn't the same Liverpool side that we've seen over the last few years. And you know, at the minute, what I'm seeing from Liverpool, and we saw this against West Ham and Tottenham, we've seen it now. We put a decent performance in against Leipzig in midweek. It seems at the minute, like as a Liverpool fan, as a club, we're taking one step forwards and two or three back.
Yeah, I think it from an Everton perspective, you know, I was 6 when we last won at Anfield, so I don't remember the game. I obviously know that Kevin Campbell scored, etc. I know that, but I wasn't at the game. I don't remember it. I wasn't particularly asked about football at 6 years old, to be honest. So it means very little to me. And this is probably the first result I can say in my lifetime, knowing about you know, football and whatever, that the Everton have won. But it's scary for me because I actually couldn't talk. I actually got really emotional in the stream, and it's pathetic, really. You know, it's pathetic that as a fan, it means so much to simply beat your rivals away from home. But that's what's happened. You know, it's been that hoodoo on the back of a lot of Everton players. It's been that mentality thing for years. And you know, in a lot of the years that I've seen, I've never really thought Everton would win at Anfield. You know, I've never gone into a game believing Everton would win at Anfield. And I did the same with this one. I believed it was a 1-1 draw.
So sorry to interrupt you there, Mike. You know, the Everton came to Anfield last season in the FA Cup. They played our kids.
Yep.
We beat them 1-0. Curtis Jones scored a screamer.
Yep.
You know, it was one of them. Everton missed a lot of chances. Everton fans, Everton players, everyone at Everton must have thought, you know, there was a big hoodoo. Tonight, you came to Anfield, you played what was a full-strength Liverpool squad with what we've got available to us at the minute, and you played a confident, resilient performance. And, you know, as a Liverpool fan, I can't fault Everton. They did their job tonight. Ancelotti has turned the club around. You know, you've now got a world-class manager, and his mentality has rubbed off on the players, and that for me has been the difference today. You know, from recent years where we've seen Everton play well against Liverpool sides and come away from Anfield with nothing or with a point. Tonight, the difference was Carlo Ancelotti.
Yeah, it was. And look, you know, a lot of people had questioned Carlo before the game for results like Fulham and West Ham and Leeds at Goodison, you know, having the wrong mentality, almost going into those games and thinking, yeah, we've won it, no problem. And look, again, you know, the season is what it is. We can all sit there and say, look, if we'd have won these games, we'd be 4th or we'd be 3rd or any of this rubbish. But, you know, the simple fact of the matter is, against the bigger teams this season, Everton have done well. And that's not because we haven't got the right mentality. That's because Carlo Ancelotti has sort of educated the players in not having that mindset of going to Anfield and feeling inferior. And, you know, he was probably the calmest man in that press conference before the game. He come out and he says, look, I want us to beat Liverpool at Anfield. It was nothing to him. It was nothing. It wasn't the same gravitas as it is with an English coach, for example, like Moyes, who used to say, we know we're going to have very little of the ball at Anfield and we're just going to turn up and make the numbers up. Carlo Ancelotti doesn't do that. He believes every game that Everton Football Club are going to win it. And look, we all know we're not going to win the league this season and probably not next season, but at least we can see the building blocks of Everton going forward, which is nice, which is important. You know, I was on the Liverpool day trippers the other night with Gris, and we were talking about where Everton are in this journey. And you've got to remember, we've spent a lot of money and we've wasted a lot of money on some awful players, Klassen, Balassi, awful. But actually, when you put it, Iwobi, yeah. But when you put it in perspective, you could probably say this is the start of Everton's journey with the right man in charge. And from an Everton perspective, look, it's a result that means more to the fans than it does Carlo, which is quite reassuring, to be honest. Because if you saw Duncan Ferguson, for example, he's hugging the players, he's running around, he's absolutely losing his head because we're not used to this, and we don't want it to get to the point where it is like for the last 22 years when we are cacking ourselves going to Anfield. We don't need that. So we, as a fan base now, we know that we can at least say, right, we can go toe-to-toe with Liverpool at Anfield and not have that worry on our back. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah, I think you've summed that up perfectly, Mike, because you know for years you've had that cloud over you. You've struggled in the derby, you've struggled at Anfield, and I think you're absolutely right to pinpoint that as maybe the start of Everton, because now that cloud is gone, and you won't fear anything. You won't fear us.
No.
You know, and the thing is, people will talk after today. People will say, you know, Everton didn't win the game, Liverpool lost the game. You know, people will say Liverpool are clearly in a bad run because we've lost 4 games now at Anfield in a row since the 1920s. It's one of them, but you know, as a Liverpool fan, Everton absolutely deserved the point today. That's a mixture of the two. You know, Everton got it spot on, and Liverpool were poor, and I don't think anyone can see it otherwise.
Yeah, and look, I think, you know, the fact of the matter is we lost against your kids last year in the most embarrassing result I've probably experienced as a fan. I watched us be the best part of should be 3-0 up at half time for Curtis Jones, a kid that I'd never really heard of before, bar a couple of substitute appearances in the Carabao Cup, turn on a sixpence and stick it in the onion bag in the top corner from 25 yards in one of the goals of the season. You know, I've seen Everton just bottle it at Anfield so many times. Don't get me wrong.
You've seen Mane. Listen, you've seen that Origi goal last year.
I've seen loads of times where last minute Liverpool get something. You know, I've seen Mane 93rd minute for a 0-0 at Goodison, making it 1-0. I've seen Van Dijk smash the ball 35 yards in the air for it to bounce off Jordan Pickford's frigging fingers for Divock Origi to put it in. You know, I mean, I hate Origi. Why Klopp didn't go, right, you know what, we're just going to throw him on at any point, because I didn't get that. But Everton had to just beat who was in front of them today. And coming out of the back of the Man City game, which was poor from Everton, but let's be realistic, Manchester City are phenomenal this season. They are, you know. To
be fair, I think respect, Mike, for 60 minutes of that game, Everton played well. It was the last half an hour where you sort of, you know, Man City passed you into, you know, they looked tired for the last half an hour. You looked, and then when they went ahead again, that was when heads dropped for Everton. It was as simple as that. But you know, I wouldn't say you were poor against Manchester City.
No, but I just think they obviously stepped up a gear that Everton don't have, and you know, from the first minute today, I was really worried. I was worried that Liverpool could go up that gear, and they just. I don't know whether it's they don't have it. I don't know whether you've lost that gear anymore. But it certainly wasn't the same Liverpool. But equally, it wasn't the same Everton. You know, we were good tonight. We as you said, we were confident on the ball. We were compact when we needed to be. Yes, you had a few crosses across the box and shots on goal, but you'd expect that going to Anfield. That's not new. Where Everton were good today was on the transition, on the turnover, when Everton did have the ball, and the 28% possession we had. You know, we are playing long football. We're not playing attractive football. We're picking little gaps, and we're finding the legs of Richarlison, Calvert-Lewin, the little magic touches of Rodriguez, and that's what we utilised tonight. And we ended up getting a result that, although I'm not going to say that I expected, because I didn't. I expected a 1-1 draw. I expected it to be a close game, but I did expect more from Liverpool, and I was really happy with what Everton give. And I think that's trying to be even. You know, I think there's a lot of Everton fans that would come on this channel and absolutely be blowing smoke up Everton's arse. And I just think, look, we need to be realistic. You know, we're 7th in the table for a reason. We've just come to Anfield and got a great result, but we look like we're going places, but that transition is going to take a lot of time, and I think Everton fans need to appreciate that sometimes. But Mate, am I going to celebrate beating Liverpool tonight? And I mean, this is no disrespect to anyone on here. Of course I am. You know, I've not seen Everton win at Anfield in my life, and it's phenomenal. It's a great feeling, and that's no disrespect to any of you.
Yeah, and you know what, mate, you don't need, you've been very, very humble since coming on this channel, and you know, you don't need to be, because you've come to Anfield tonight. You've done something, as you say, I've not seen in my life. You've not seen since you were 6. I recognise it must be a massive thing for Everton. And as you say, you know, it seems like you're in a very good position now. You've got a good manager. You know, you've got a chairman who's willing to back him. You've seen with what you've done in the summer with a few brilliant pieces of business, you know, bringing James Rodriguez in, bringing Decore and Alan in. I think not only that, Ancelotti's shown his coaching ability. You know, Dominic Calvert-Lewin has become a class player. You're seeing players like Mason Holgate get better and better under him. Even Ben Godfrey, who was a signing that maybe went under the radar with the business you did in the summer, has been outstanding when he's been playing in a position that he's not used to. He's been playing on the right, he's been playing on the left, he's been playing everywhere. And you know, I can completely understand why you're so happy right now as an Everton fan. But yeah, we'll get into the comments in a moment. As a Liverpool fan, you know, today is hard to take. As I say, it looked like we'd turn it around in midweek again. We haven't. We come in today. First half, as I say, we were still in the changing rooms. Come out the second half, we're looking brighter. But as far as I'm concerned, I know we had a couple of good chances. As you say, Pickford, you know, made some class saves, but and Michael Keane made some important blocks, but we never really looked like scoring. Everton had the game exactly where they wanted for the majority of that. You know, they let Firmino have his chances at the edge of the area, and Mane had a couple of half chances. Pickford made a couple of decent saves, but you forced us to having the majority of our chances from outside the box and positions where, you know, we're not really expected to score. The only one probably where I thought, oh, we should have scored there was the chance where, you know, Salah was one-on-one. Shaqiri laid him through last minute, and Salah ends up hitting it straight at Jordan Pickford. But Pickford made himself big, and you know, Pickford's a man who is heavily criticised for a lot of, you know, performances in Merseyside derbies, Mike. But today, he was a very important player for Everton.
Massive player today. You know, one of the things with Jordan Pickford, I always believe that he's got the ability to be the class goalkeeper we all thought that he might be when he was at Sunderland and playing for England, etc. But I questioned his mindset. He reminded me a bit of Joe Hart, no doubt a talented keeper. But in England games, for example, you see him in a tunnel banging his head off a wall and losing his head, like mentality shot. And I questioned that with Pickford, but tonight his mentality was right. He was solid, he was calm, he was composed. You know, at one moment the ball was brought across the box and he had to sort of dive and punch it out. And you know, Pickford gets those wrong a lot of times, and he got them right today, and he had a great game. But I think the whole Everton defence did a good job, because you know, there was moments where you played the ball through. There was one moment where I think it's Mane had broke between the lines and he's literally about to shoot. And Michael Keane puts in, I mean, arguably from an Everton perspective, one of the best tackles of the season, because the guy he's about to pull the trigger. And from 7 yards, you expect Mane to score. And Michael Keane managed to get back. It was just imperious. And if you don't mind me asking, from a Liverpool perspective, where are Liverpool at this moment in time? Because as an outsider looking in, it's sort of difficult to gauge, because there is no doubt Liverpool have a quality team. And yes, look, we can all mention Van Dijk, and I'll be the first to mention it. He's a massive blow for Liverpool, and certainly hindered your chances at retaining the title. There's no doubt about that. But it's the attack that worries me for Liverpool, because they don't look the same as they have done in recent years.
I think
the press is gone. The press, that was you know, I remember Liverpool, you'd get the ball in the back four and it'd be like a flood of Liverpool players, and I didn't see any of that.
I think it's a number of things, Mike. If I'm being honest, and you know, I've not been this open about it probably, but it's a number of things. For me, one of the things is that over the last few years, bearing in mind Klopp's style, Klopp's pressing style, FSG haven't backed Klopp enough in the transfer windows over the last few years. We've not adjusted enough. We have a poor bench. We've been, we've got rid of a lot of squad players for a lot of money, and we've not seen the investment. But I'm not going to just put it down to that. As you say, the pressing game has completely gone flat against Leipzig in midweek. I saw it back again today. That's why I was so confident, because I thought, I've seen it back. We'll go into this game. We'll be full of spirit, full of energy, ready to go. But today, the pressing game wasn't there at all. And I also think that the players aren't very confident at the moment. We're heavily hit by injuries. That is also a big thing. There's a number of things. But as for where we are, I don't think any of us know. Because, for a lot of the season, you talk about the turn of the year, we were pushing for the title. Within the first few weeks, it was pretty obvious that the title would go City's way, which it has done. Yeah. Then it was top four. But today, I think we've even lost that. And it'll be interesting to see what the comments say after this. I don't want to rule anything out, because, this Liverpool side is capable of turning it around when we get Fabinho and Henderson back. Henderson's injury doesn't look it doesn't look good, and Klopp has said it doesn't look good in this press conference, and that is obviously huge for our season. But I wouldn't rule anything out with this season and the race for the top four. But I honestly think we've taken. I think today was massive, and I do think we will miss out on top four now. And it's one of them where, as a Liverpool fan, I don't want to see my club play on Thursday nights, and I'd rather put all our eggs in the Champions League. I don't think we can win the Champions League this year. I don't think we're good enough. I don't think we have the personnel to do it. But I'd rather try everything and put all our eggs in that basket now and finish outside the Europa League places, because I cannot see. Well, it's going to be a slog to get top four, as you say. You're level on points with us now, aren't you? With a game in hand. Yeah. I think Chelsea are 3 points clear of us, or something like that. I think, there are a lot of other teams in better positions for us as the top four goes. And to get top four now, in my opinion, I think we rely on other teams messing up rather than us recovering our form.
I think the interesting one in the top four is West Ham, to be honest, because who saw that? Who saw that? The issue is with Liverpool, and as you rightly say, you sort of don't know. Liverpool were not great before you turned amazing. It's weird, but you weren't phenomenal before you all of a sudden went, there we are. We've got Alisson, we've got Van Dijk, and now all of a sudden we get into Champions League finals every year and we're winning the Premier League. So who knows with Liverpool? You don't all of a sudden go from winning the league to falling off a cliff. So there will be a resurgence with Liverpool. There will be. West Ham will probably fall short. Chelsea, I have no idea what to expect with Chelsea, because I thought they were so far down the packing order with Lampard, and then Tuchel looks like he's got it. It looks like he's done a good job. But again, who really knows? And Leicester could bottle it. Who really knows about the top four this season? I'm certainly not saying Everton are going to get in the top four. I'm really not. But it's a wide open race for about 8 teams this season. So anything's going to happen. Man United will have another blip at some point. They will, because they're not great, to be honest. They get away with murder. They're not great. So I don't know. City will win the league, and then anything below that, I haven't got a clue.
Thank you very much for joining us, Mike. I was going to get into the comments, but we've come to half an hour now, so I should probably wrap it up. Massive win for Everton. Congratulations, and enjoy your night. Whilst you're enjoying your night, I'm going to go to bed, and I assume, like many other Liverpool fans, my weekend is now ruined. But, hopefully we'll turn it around. We have Sheffield United next. We have a bit of a nicer run. I say nicer, but nothing's easy for this Liverpool side at the moment. And yeah, we'll see what happens. But as I say, thank you, Mike, for joining us. As you can see, he's from the Blue Boys Network, and please check him out. He's been humble as ever on this. And he's just a class lad. So, I've not seen their channel yet, but when I check them out, I'm pretty sure it's probably the same over there too. But thank you, Mike, for joining us. Liverpool have been defeated in the Merseyside derby at Anfield for the first time in my life. And we shall see you very soon. Ta-ra.